Good afternoon, everybody. High Mileage Rider here, and as promised, this is my 10,000 kilometer review of my 2019 Yamaha Super Tenere ES. I actually have 11,000 kilometers on the bike, or just a little bit over, so I kind of lied there a little bit. I've now had the bike. I picked it up on June 15th, so July, August, September, 8. So I've had the bike for 10 weeks, and I have 11,000 K on it, so just over 1,000 K a week. It's been raining a lot here, so I haven't been riding as much as I'd like to, and unfortunately, please forgive me, the bike is absolutely disgustingly dirty today. So in this review, I'm going to talk about not only the stuff that I love about the bike, but there are actually 3 or 4 things that I don't like about the bike. Nothing that would prevent me from buying the bike, obviously, because I did, but just I'll mention them as things for people to be aware of. So let's turn this camera around and show you the bike. There have actually been a couple changes since my last video. Let's see if you can pick them out. So the first thing you may notice looking at the bike is the tank is a different color. I think it looks great. I tried to match the red that was in the striping and on the T and the 12 in the Tenere 1200. I just wanted to do something a little bit different to kind of set the bike off a little bit, make it my own. It's actually a vinyl wrap that I had put on by a buddy of mine who owns Hardcore Auto Detailing. His name's Corey, does a great job here in Edmonton. I think it looks great. Now, the good. Should we start with the good or the bad? Actually, you know what? Let's start with the bad. That way we'll end on a high note. A lot of people who review this bike have mentioned that they found that the seat was not all that comfortable, and it actually canted them forward a little bit if they were 6 feet or taller. I found the same thing. So as I mentioned before, I had to take the saddle into a place here in Edmonton called Volker's Upholstery, and Volker added some padding to the middle of the seat right here, and then also built up the front. I'll give you a side profile, and now it's extremely comfortable. I've done a couple of 1,000 kilometer days on it and had no issues, so I may not have to get myself an aftermarket saddle for this bike. It cost me $200 for him to adjust the stock saddle for me and then recover it. Now, one of the real pet peeves that I have with this bike, and I'll show it to you when we're actually riding on the bike, is when you start the bike up. And you can see that the bike is in neutral. As soon as you pull the clutch in and put the bike in gear, which I won't do right now because I'm holding the camera, the gear indicator here shows a dash, which seems really silly to me. You know, when you're stopped at a light and you're in the ready position, you want to know that the bike is in first gear so that you're ready to go if you need to in a hurry. In this case, there's just a dash there, so you have to tap down to be sure that you are in first gear. Not sure exactly why they did that, but you know, again, it's not something that didn't prevent me from buying the bike, but it could be very annoying if you're a new rider. So besides the gear indicator and the saddle, the next big thing that I'm really not a fan of is this side stand. Now the side stand, I believe, is made of billet aluminum, because I tried putting a magnet on it and the magnet just fell off. When you look at the bike, now this is a slanted parking lot, just so you know. So it looks like the bike is leaned over enough, but if you're on a perfectly flat piece of ground, the bike really doesn't lean over all that much. And when you get off the bike, a good gust of wind actually one day blew my bike over to the right. Now luckily I was standing on that side, so I caught the bike, it didn't go down. But I would really like to try and find a kickstand that will lean the bike over about another 5 or 10 degrees, so I don't have to worry about it blowing over in the wind if I'm not on exactly level ground. And the last thing that I'm really not a fan of with the bike, or was not a fan of, but I've changed, was the pannier bags. The pannier bags themselves weren't bad. They were about 32 liters a side, and they were a combination of anodized aluminum and plastic, but the locking mechanism on them was absolute crap. It was actually bending my ignition key trying to open the bags, even with pressing the lid down. So as I said in a previous video, what I did was I just got myself a set of the SW Motec bags, and these things are awesome. Again, 37 liters on the left, 45 on the right, so it looks completely symmetrical. Again, sorry for the dirt. It's been raining here a lot, and unfortunately in Alberta, if you don't ride in the rain, you don't get to ride during the summer. But the bags are working great. These are dust and waterproof, which is why I bought them. I've done one 5,000 kilometer trip out to BC, and the bike performed flawlessly. Now, to make this bike the ultimate retirement touring machine, I made a few changes, and I'll discuss some of those changes as I discuss the good things in the bike. And there's a lot of good things with this bike. First thing is the price. The price was absolutely amazing. It is almost half the cost of every other large, over 1,000cc adventure bike in Canada, in Edmonton anyways. As I mentioned before, a BMW 1250 GS Adventure with pannier bags, the BMW ones, is $31,000 out the door. When you're looking at a Multistrada, the 1260 Multistrada, you're looking at about $27,000. When you're looking at a Triumph Tiger 1200 with bags, you're looking at $27,000, $28,000. The only bikes that are reasonably priced, in my humble opinion, are the Suzuki V-Strom, and the new ones are about $17,000 to get the Adventure XT and this Super Tenere 1200 ES. Again, I got this bike for $18,000 out the door, and with all of the accessories that I've put on, I'm looking at about $19,500 in total. A great deal for a full-sized adventure touring bike. So the next thing that I really love about this bike is the motor, and it is an absolutely incredible motor. It is deceivingly powerful and fast. You'll be driving on the highway in third or fourth gear and give it a bit of gas to pass someone, and you'll look down and go, holy crap, I'm going 190 kilometers an hour. This bike is a beast. I realize there are bikes out there that have way more power, such as the 1290 Super Adventure S and R. I think that bike has like 160 horsepower. On paper, this bike has 120, but I think most people who dyno it say it has about 110 horsepower-ish to the rear wheel. And really, that's more than enough for me. This bike will go well over 200 kilometers an hour if you want to, and it'll do it damn fast. The transmission, buttery smooth. It does make a clunk when you go into first gear. I personally like it because it's very positive, very visceral. It lets me know that I'm in gear. Oil changes are super easy with this bike, and of course it has the oil sight glass down there, which makes it much easier. But yeah, the motor on this bike is absolutely amazing. The next thing I really love about this bike is the chassis. Chassis and suspension, I guess, we'll put together. This bike has an amazing ride, an amazing feel on the road. When you sit on it, you feel like you're sitting in the bike, in my opinion, not on the bike. It soaks up bumps. It has a great electronic suspension, which I'll show you as we're on the road, and very easy to switch between rider with luggage, rider passenger with luggage. Has a lot of electronics, but not too much, in my opinion. As part of the ergonomics of the bike, I did need to change the handlebar position. Being a taller guy, I put the Healy bar risers on. Those have worked out really, really well. The only thing I'm thinking of changing yet is the bar. And the reason why, as you can see, this bar is quite flat. My V-Strom had a much taller rise on it, and I really do like that feel. I'm giving this a try though. I'm going to ride this for 20,000-30,000 kilometers and see if I get used to it. But if I don't, then I will change the bar. There's an Evo Adventure bar made for this bike that my dealership sells for about $160. The only bad thing is I would need to change most of my lines other than the brake line, because the Healy bar risers came with a brake line extender. So that may be something I do in the new year. I love the wind protection on this bike. Again, I have the Yamaha winglets on this bike and the tall windshield. The tall windshield in conjunction with the winglets provide a very nice pocket of air to ride in. The hand grips deflect a lot of wind off of your hands, keep you warm when it's cold out. Comfort-wise, this bike is just amazing. The other thing I really like about this bike is the position of the engine guard when you put it on, and it's actually more of a body guard than an engine guard, I guess. I went with the SW Motec, and then I put on a set of the Adventure Designs highway pegs. And what that does is it allows me to kick my legs out in 3 different positions when I'm on the highway for that added comfort. The headlights are really good on this bike. Another thing that I like, it's got projector halogens. However, having the LED Speed Demon side blinder lights on the front, they are obviously a white light. The headlights are a little bit yellow in color because they are a halogen, so I think I will upgrade those to an LED headlight sometime in the future. More so for the look on the front of the bike when the lights are on than actually being able to see, because I can see very, very well in the dark. And I guess the last thing that I absolutely love about this bike is the brakes. A lot of people who have reviewed this bike don't like the brakes. They say they feel very wooden and don't have a lot of stopping power. I'm not sure. You know, everyone has their own personal opinion. You know, some people like apple pie, some people like cherry pie. I find that these brakes are really good. Every bit as good as the V-Strom 1000's brakes. They bite. The initial bite is very strong. They don't seem to fade when you're working them hard. And the brakes work very, very well to slow the bike down when you're coming into the twisties. I will insert a little video here of me doing twisties on this bike, showing just how supple and nimble the chassis is on this bike for such a big bike. So all in all, I absolutely love this bike. I'm very happy with the purchase. The fact that I'll be able to go hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of kilometers trouble-free is always a great plus. Maintenance on this bike is next to nothing for cost compared with some of the other big adventure bikes. So I'm looking forward to hopefully putting on in about another 5,000–6,000 K this season, which will bring me up to about 16,000–17,000. I normally ride about 30,000 to 35,000 in a full year, but again, I've only had this bike for about 10 weeks. And yeah, looking forward to lots more adventures and lots more trips. I can't emphasize enough that if you're looking and you're in the market for a large bore, over 1,000cc adventure bike, you give this one a test ride. Don't just automatically go to the KTMs, BMWs, Ducatis, and Triumphs. Check out some of the less rated bikes and give them a try. You may find that they fit you perfectly, as this one does for me. So let's get on the road and I'll show you what this baby can do. So we're just driving through a residential area, and you'll be able to see here as I come to this four-way stop, I'm in second, I pull in my clutch, and the bike shows a dash, not letting me know for sure if I'm in first gear or not. As soon as you let the clutch out, it shows you what gear you're in. As soon as I pull in the clutch, a dash, and then it shows the gear third. So that's a little bit annoying when you're coming up to a stop, not knowing exactly what gear you're in, for those who want to know that information. So on the highway, with the engine guards here and my highway pegs, as you can see them, I'm able to actually put my feet up here as one of the positions. and it's very, very comfortable. The other thing I have the option of doing is kicking my feet out and just resting them on the foot pegs. And that gives me a chance to have a good stretch of the legs when I'm on the highway. So here we are on the highway at 100 kilometers an hour in 4th gear, which is usually the gear I'm in. It's either 4th or 5th. And I try and keep the revs at about 4,500 to 5,000, so I'm in the meat of the power band. And I'll just show you what the roll-on is like, so you can see what kind of power this bike has, and also you could see or hear, I guess, what the exhaust note is like. So here we go. So this bike has lots of power, at least enough for me anyways. Anyways, that's the end of my 10,000 kilometer review. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's provided some information for people who are looking at an adventure touring bike. And we'll see you in the next video. Remember, keep the rubber side down and your right hand cranked.